Oh, it's sharing to your YouTube too.
It is? Oh my goodness. So maybe I better get my ass on YouTube then.
Oh, it says we're live for 10 seconds.
Yep, we're live.
All right. Who would like to do the honors of the introduction, or should I, since I went on and on about it?
Go ahead.
All right. I guess I'll go ahead and do the introduction and then I'll share out. All right, so tonight we are doing a special broadcast on shielding and psychic protection, and would like, I wanted to, at least, get it announced out there. We're gonna play a little video in the beginning. So for those who are watching the playback, the video is just a couple of minutes and it's just got some key pointers and stuff like that in there. Now, Jules, is there music in the video? Yes, there is music in the video. What am I talking about? I watched the video. Okay, sorry, blonde moment there. So if this also gives a chance for everybody, to be able to, get on that wants to watch, and gives us a few moments to share out and everything. And so share, that'd be great. Please share into the groups that are appropriate to share into, because there are a lot of groups that do have rules and regulations against sharing from outside. Share to your page, share to your Facebook wall. That'd be great. Sharing is caring. And anybody else want to add anything in?
I just want to know what pages we're live from.
Mystical Inc. And what else? What else are we live from, Jules?
Should be Sarah's page and my page.
I don't
Okay,
see it
so
on there,
Sacred Dragon and Jewels of the Moon.
Well, it's socially integrated now.
All right, and we do have a couple of people watching. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. And then we're also broadcasting to YouTube as well. So anybody watching from YouTube, just gonna say hello. Thank you for watching Unique Vibrations. And
I don't
we'll
even see it on my page.
Let's see here. I'm gonna go to your page and look real quick.
All right, I'm gonna go play the video so that we can.
Oh, I found it now. It's on my page now.
Okay. All right, everybody. So Jules gonna go ahead and cue the music, and gives us time to share out, do what we need to do. And thank you for your patience. Enjoy the video.
Maiden, warrior, mother, crone, flower, sword, blade, ivy, bone, help us make ourselves our own. Maiden, warrior.
All right, that was excellent.
Hey, everyone.
Hello. Okay, so who wants to start? We're going to be talking about shielding today.
I would maybe like to, I guess, start with maybe discussing what exactly is shielding and what it's good for. I guess start from the basics would be great.
Shielding is pretty much blocking anything from coming into your personal area. That could be, if you're an empath, it could be filtering and blocking down any emotions from other people that you're around. It can also stop any type of psychic attack that is happening towards you or directed at you. So if you do a lot of magical workings or stuff on the other astral plane, you probably want to shield yourself. If you're an empath, you would benefit greatly from shielding yourself. Or if you're just somebody that sometimes picks up on emotions of those around you or just different energy signatures of people around you, it would probably be a good idea to work on shielding as well. There's basically two types of shielding, which is active shielding and passive shielding. Passive shielding is what most people would think of as like a bubble method, where you envision something around your body that is a solid mass that nothing passes through. There are some disadvantages to that type of shield. Obviously, where you first start creating it, there are weaker points. An adversary could pick up on that. It's not moving, it's not changing, so it's always going to be in the same spot unless you physically create your shield with a weaker point in a different spot. An active shield is a shield that is exactly that. It's active. It's not stationary. It moves. The easiest way to describe an active shield is thinking of a hula hoop. If you take a hula hoop around your waist and you hula hoop with it, you can't really see where it was fused together. But if you stop the hula hoop from moving, you can see where it was created and where there's that little mark where the pieces fit together. And when you spin it, you can't see it. You do the same thing with the shield. You spin it, so it's harder for others to see where there's that break in the shield, and it's also continuously moving. With an active shield, you can add additional shields. You can add additional rings by cutting that first ring in half and slicing it as many times as you feel comfortable and spinning them in opposite or different directions.
You can add lasers or razors to them.
Oh yeah, you can add anything.
Yeah, for more offense, I guess, than defense. I think
Yes,
most people are just looking for basic defense, but with the passive, it definitely is. Even if somebody isn't intending to break it, it still can break very easily.
Now,
yes.
I've heard of someone using a mirror ball, like a disco ball image. That way the mirrors are facing out, using that as their bubble around them because it reflects back whatever is trying to come through.
That would be a type of an illusion shield, which we'll actually talk about a little bit later in the show when we are talking about mindscaping, because that is actually a type of mindscaping technique.
Cool.
But yeah, like Jewel was saying, when you have an active shield, you can make it offensive and defensive, which is really benefit to yourself. I mean, you can make a passive shield offensive and defensive too, but only to a point because it doesn't move. So you can put like spikes or something on it, but if they're not moving, your adversary or somebody that is coming to psychically attack you is going to be able to see it very straight on. It's not going to be moving. Whereas if we use the ring method that I just discussed a minute ago, the rings are continuously moving, so it's harder to see what's there to be defensive.
Yep, a moving target's definitely harder to hit. I mean, if you're hunting, if a deer is just standing in the field, it's going to be easier to hit it as opposed to if you're trying to hit something that's running, moving.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's why I personally like active shields better, but active shields do have their problems. They're more difficult to maintain. And they take a lot more practice than just your traditional bubble field or your wall shield that you would put around yourself. They are something that takes a lot of people a very long time to maintain for a short period of time, because you have to train yourself to do it, just like with anything.
Well, I think that with the visualization of these shield techniques, there are, I guess, prerequisites to that as well, such as meditating and opening up to your visualization skills. You can do things like protection around the home, putting sigils around the home,
Yeah,
or saging, because, like I said
I
in the
have that
video,
on my notes for later too.
yeah, like I said, like with if you don't shield your house or do some sort of protection mechanism in your
Well,
house,
let's
or
move on to that.
safety space, then, you know, like if you don't have that safety space, then you're going to have to shield and cleanse yourself all the time, way more than necessary, you know.
Yes, we'll move on and talk about that since you brought it up. Now, in addition to having a personal shield around yourself, there are several things you can do to amplify and protect yourself a little better, along the same lines as shielding. They can be used as a complement to the shield. One method is a crystal grid. A crystal grid you can have on your altar, and you can draw energy from that, or you can set up a crystal grid like I have around my entire property and draw from that, as well as it protects your house or your whatever area that you have the crystal grid set up in. Another thing you can do is use sigils to increase your shield, or you can use runes. And another thing we'll talk about is like mindscaping. But first we'll talk about crystal grids. Do you have anything you want to say about that, Jewel, before I explain them a little bit?
No, I don't really use them. You probably know more about them than I do.
Yeah, I
Now,
really like crystal grids.
yeah, so do I. Now, what crystals would you recommend for crystal grading?
Well, it depends on what your intent is, actually. If you just want to bring peace and tranquility, you would use different stones than if you wanted to take an offensive stance.
Well, see, that's an important thing that I think we should bring up too before we go a little bit further into.
Yeah, I want to actually. What did you want to bring up, Jewel?
I wanted to. Well, I just lost it. There it goes. Out my brain.
I want to actually explain what crystal gridding is a little bit, because we always say crystal gridding, but people, I feel they don't really know what a crystal grid is. Crystal grid is when you take a series of crystals and you arrange them in a certain manner to create a desired outcome. Think of it as like a spell that you intertwine in crystals that you put in a specific picture or a specific way. Sometimes you might put them in the shape of a star or a circle, or there's lots of different ways, whatever you're drawn to, depending on what you're going to do. When you're doing a crystal grid for protection, a really good stone to use is clear quartz, because clear quartz has a lot of basic properties, and it's one that is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Versatile. You can use it for pretty much anything. You can alter that clear quartz crystal to do protection, or to bring forth good luck or prosperity, or to keep out certain entities or keep out certain things as well. Another stone I really like to use in crystal grading is labradorite, because it enhances psychic ability. Another one is tourmaline, because it repels anything that is negative. I don't really like to use selenite in crystal grids, just because I do a lot of my crystal grids out in the element, and selenite dissolves in water, so that's not my preferred method with that.
Well, the clear quartz also amplifies anything that you put with it. I think I like
Yes.
the grid because it also what I was going to bring up earlier, it sets intentions, because when you shield, you don't want to shield from everything. You
No, you
want
want to allow
men.
things. Well, I mean, there are different methods of allowing certain things to come in. For example, if you can always reach out of your own shield because it's yours, it's your energy, you have control over it. So if you want to reach out of your shield and bring something into it, like the energy from a person around you, you can do it by just picturing a small little strand of yourself venturing over to that person and then bringing it back to yourself.
Yeah,
Now,
I like
in
the
the
only.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying it makes sense. Because I don't. I guess I like to keep mine at half to allow things to come to me. Maybe it's because I'm lazy. I don't know. But
No,
Now, Lachelle made a comment under
I
Sacred
was just
Dragon.
going to
She talked
address
about,
it.
what about salt and grain used at the door and the windows and by your door. That's actually something you can incorporate in as well when if you are trying to do
Yeah,
like a property shielding. But just that alone is great practice, and I do highly recommend that. I'm a firm believer in salting the earth, especially at certain times when certain things. And I also want to point out too, cleansing a lot of times helps to do before you set up a grid, because I was one of those dumbasses that put up a garnet grid inside my house at the four corners, but didn't do a cleansing. And let me tell you, I was breaking my neck to get those gardens out the corners, because I had locked
Melanie, it
in.
looks like we have a spammer on the page. Would you take care of that? I
Yes,
don't
I
know
can
how
do
to
that.
do
But
it.
yeah, so definitely
Awesome.
cleansing. I highly recommend cleansing before doing a grid.
I already took care of him, I
Now,
think.
oh, great. Tammy's good. Now,
Tammy
Lachelle,
is good.
another thing I wanted to address on salt. The reason that your grandmother put salt out the windows and the doors is because salt is known for cleansing and purifying the space. So if you feel like there's a lot of negativity, salt can help with that. But it's like the most basic thing you can do. So if salt doesn't work, then you'd want to move on to something
With
a little
dust
stronger
is
than that.
good.
And the other thing with salt is if you are a gardener or an avid with plants or anything like that, you want to be careful that you don't put a lot of salt in the yard because it can actually be very damaging to whatever you're growing. Salt is not most plants' friends.
Yep, and neither is Melanie. We pretty much do the same thing to any living plant life, unless it's a cacti. But yeah,
You suck the
which
life
is
out
why
of
my
them.
dream yard is a rock lawn.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm
Is
like
there
you,
any
Jewel. I don't put up shields that often unless I feel a need. I leave myself pretty open.
I am very heavily shielded and guarded, but I do a lot of things on the astral plane, so go figure. Does anybody want to add anything about crystal currency before we move on? Okay, moving on. Now let's talk about other things we can do in conjunction with shielding. Melanie talked about cleansing the house. There are several things you can do to cleanse your house. There are many different herbs you can use in just a bucket of like mop water when you clean your house. Just like when you're normally cleaning it. A lot of people, especially in the hoodoo, believe that you wash your floors with these herbs because you're washing out the bad intentions or the bad ill. So when you are proactive about keeping your house clean, and I don't mean clean as in like physically clean as in getting out the negative energy, airing out your house. Maybe a lot of people use sage. I'm more fond of Palo Santo, but that's just me personally. You open up the windows, you get it out, you air out the place. That is what you're going to want to do before you do any type of crystal gridding. You don't necessarily need to do that before you shield yourself, but it is a good idea to start from that point. And if you haven't guessed, the meditation exercises and episode that we did a week or so ago plays into this a lot because that has to do with shielding has to do with visualization and meditating and projecting something onto ourselves, which is done through meditation. Any of you ladies have anything you want to add?
What does your how does your spirit dolls react when you use the Palo Santo in the house or the
Oh, my
sage?
spirit dolls don't mind it, but I shield them from it. So it doesn't really bother them.
Okay. I was curious about that.
I don't know if you're able to do that to yours, but
I think that for people who are very cleanly and they feel as though, when there's disorganization going on in the house, definitely, like, if you feel like things are getting pretty intense, start there. Because I know you said not physically necessarily, but if you're that type of person, then always think that it's always important to start with the physical and maybe move to the mental, which also includes setting boundaries. Basically,
yeah, boundaries are really good.
determining what it is that you will and will not accept so that you know when to shield.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And that comes from, and that doesn't just go for what you accept others to do. It can go for anything of the supernatural realm. For example, if you talk to spirits or if you see them on a regular basis and you're not comfortable with them coming to you at certain times, you can set up boundaries with them just as easily as I can tell Jewel, I don't want to talk to you between 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning. It's just like setting boundaries, just like with a friend. That's really how nonchalant you have to be. And when you're working with things on another plane, when you're working with things that not everybody is aware of, just treat them like they're friends and family. These are the rules. We follow them. Anybody else have anything to add on that section?
No.
Okay. Then let's talk about other ways we can help to enhance our shielding ability. One of the things that we can do is we can activate runes or shields, or runes or shields. Yeah, I can't speak. Runes or sigils to help our shield. Runes are a type of alphabet, dramatic alphabet. And if you're not familiar with them, you shouldn't use them. You should do research, but you can use them in much the same way that you can use a sigil. There are some known sigils that if you do a Google search, you'll find, but I find the most powerful sigils are ones that you pick and you design yourself for a specific intent. If you're using them with a shield that you want to be airtight and protect you from something, then when you're drawing your sigil, that's what you're going to want it to represent to you. It doesn't matter necessarily what it represents to anybody else. And when you're dealing with sigils or runes, there's a couple different ways that you can use them or activate them. You can activate them in a passive manner, or you can activate them in an active manner. Both ways have their advantages and their disadvantages. If we're going to talk about passive at first, passive is something that, in this case, that is going to last longer than the active rune or sigil, but it also takes longer to reach maturity. Think of it as like a spell that gains power over time. So if you want something that is going to not necessarily be super strong in the beginning, but over time it's going to grow and it's going to stay with you and grow as you grow your shield, as you become more in tuned with yourself, then you would want to use a passive sigil. Passive sigils are something that you right, on something that is not going to go away. You might carve it on something that you place on your altar. You might make a gamahe of it. You might make a talisman of it. You might get a tattoo of it on your arm or your leg or wherever have you. And it's something that's going to stay with you for a long time. And when you are making this sigil, you are going to infuse it with the intent that you want it to have. And once you draw it and it is complete, you're going to activate it at this point, and that's going to be placing it wherever the desired place to have it is. Now, if we're talking about an active rune or sigil, that is something that is going to give you that bust of power right now because you need a boost. It is not something that is going to stay with you long term. It is something that is going to be there quick, and then it's going to dissipate almost as quickly. So if you, for some reason, need a boost on your protection level, let's say maybe you're going around a lot of people that you don't know, and you maybe feel off, this might be the time to use that. And you're going to create your sigil or your rune the exact same way as you did in the first one, but you're not going to put it on something that's going to stay mobile. It's going to stay with you. You're going to put it on a piece of paper so you can tear it up and burn it to activate it, or you're going to draw it in the sand or the dirt on the ground, and then you're going to erase it to activate it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
Does anybody have anything to add about those?
Nothing to add.
Let me see.
Can't you do that with, can't you do it with like your moon water on your skin
Yeah,
too?
you can do it with your mood water on your skin too, because it's not going to stay there when the water dries. And it's just something to, I mean, there are many different ways to do it. I'm only discussing a very few, but
Okay.
but there's probably 100 ways you could do this. But it's not, when you do an active versus a passive, the active method in this particular case, it's going to give you that boost right now. It's going to give you that punch that you need to get through to the next area. Whereas the passive would gradually help to build up your defense, your shield, or whatever have you. And the cool thing about either of these is you can always add more. You don't have to just add one. Granted, the more you add, the harder it is to maintain, the harder it is to remember what's where. So you want to be wary of that when you go in. It's not something that you can just go and like add 52 right away and it's going to work perfectly. You got to get comfortable with yourself. You got to understand yourself, and you really got to get to know yourself and your shielding ability. You got to get in contact with all of the energy within yourself and all of the energy that's around you, whether it be from people, the environment, or just residual energy that's around your house or stones or whatever.
Yep, makes sense.
Anybody have anything to add? Okay. Now, the last thing that we're going to discuss when it comes to shielding is mindscaping. Mindscaping is a technique that you use in addition to shielding, and it is basically creating a maze or a kind of puzzle box within inside your mind, so that if somebody does get past your shield, it's more difficult for them to see what's really there. This is what Tammy was talking about when she said projecting a mirror ball around you. That is a type of mindscaping, because what you're doing is you're showing whoever is looking that, hey, this is just a mirror. It's not me. It's a type of illusion. And that's what mindscaping is. For example, if I am shielding myself, I am going to take advantage of all the methods that I know. So I am going to have my ring shielding on the outside, and I run a few more than a few ring shields on the outside, so they spin in different directions. Think of it as like somebody spinning a hula hoop around their waist, around their arms, around their legs, around their neck. So there's a lot of them. So it's difficult to see where you can stick your hand or where you can get in with any type of magic or any type of anything that would pass, any type of energy. And then behind that shield, I run a traditional bubble style shield. And behind that shield, that's where you would, well, that's where I put my mindscape, my little paradise. I like it because my little paradise is a scary little maze of labyrinth, but I like it. But other people get lost in it because they don't know it. And that is a type of mindscape as well. Jewel, did you have anything you wanted to add on that part?
No, I don't do mindscaping. I'm Tammy and I like to be open. We're just like, here we are. Take it or leave it.
I
I've
mean, and
also
that has
heard
its
that the
benefits because you can, when you are open, you are very receptive to everything that is around you, other things that other people are projecting, things that other people might want you to see. So, I mean, being open has some advantages, but it also has disadvantages, especially when you work with different types of magic or
Oh,
when
yeah,
you're doing different types of spells, or when you're around a lot of people that maybe don't have the best intentions.
right. Especially if you are an empath and you are very, very sensitive to energies. But I guess I look at it like it's more experience to also, even though some people don't mean to project it, and when they do and you see it, it helps you learn too.
Yeah, I can see that. Me, I'm like I build like the best fort I can, I guess you'd say.
With the fluffy pink pillows and stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. All sorts of lovely little things.
Yeah. Um, so for what do you think you would suggest for someone who does a lot of energy work or does a lot of like divination?
Well, if you're doing a lot of divination, that's a little bit tricky because a lot of times when you put up shields, it initially blocks what you're able to see. So if you're doing a lot of divination, if you're doing a lot of energy work, you need to be able to know yourself and work with yourself. And you need to be able to have the amount of shielding that you feel comfortable with, but still be able to reach out and grab what you need. I use what I call the fishing rod technique. I don't know its real name, but it's just work. It's just what I call it. When I have myself shielded and I'm in my little sacred space and I'm all locked up in my little bubbly world, I can cast out a tiny piece of my energy like a fishing line, and I can direct it to wherever I want to go, whatever I want to see, whoever I want to read, and just direct it to that person and then pull that person's energy into myself. That way they're coming into my space, my presence on my terms. That works pretty effectively for me. Now, if you're an empath and you don't want to lose that ability, shielding is going to diminish that a little bit, especially if you're around a lot of people and you like to feel that energy. Some empaths feel very rejuvenated and very alive when they feel the energy of others around them. So you might want to only shield at certain times, but each person needs to determine what's right for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Try sometimes you might have to try a method and realize that it doesn't work and try a new one.
And that's okay. Yeah, and that's okay. A lot of people get discouraged because what I say or what somebody says doesn't work out. And that's okay. That's how we learn. We have to fail a thousand times before we learn anything, really.
Hmm.
That's how we learn.
Okay, I have a question about the fishing rod method. Now, when would you say like the best um best time to use something like that. And that's interesting. Actually, that's something I've never even heard of, and it's I guess
The best time,
it's intriguing.
I don't know that there's really a best time. I just use it anytime I want energy to come into me, whether if I'm doing a reading on you or if I want to share my energy with you. That's when I cast out my little line of little bubbly little energy, because you know I'm bubbly. That's when I cast it out to whoever I am sharing energy with, exchanging energy with, reading. And there's no right or wrong time to use it per se. If you see somebody and you're curious about their energy or you're curious about what they are, cast it out. That's how you learn about them. If you're locked away in a box and you can't feel their energy and you can't see their energy, then you don't know anything about them. And you can cast out more than one at a time too. It just takes a little bit of practice.
Well,
I
that's
like
the
that.
thing too, because with the mirror, as you were saying, it is like a way to, I guess, appear to be them, basically, because it's a mirror. But if you're using a mirror shield, you're going to deflect a
Yeah,
lot.
that's
You have to be really
mhm.
careful with it because you could end up deflecting things that you actually need to come in.
Yeah, that is actually one of the reasons that I don't like the mirror method. I don't like that particular type of illusion because I feel you have less control over what's allowed to come in.
Yeah, when you look at it in that manner, it's like you are literally deflecting things. And when you hear of people deflecting things, what does that make you think? Like they're not receptive, they won't receive anything, so you kind of back away, you know?
Yeah,
We have a great question in the audience. Let's see here, and she's
I I don't see
how do
any
you,
questions in the audience.
it
Maybe
says
they're
how
not relevant for me.
they're for some reason they're not showing up in our comment area like they normally should. Um, Tiffany says, how do you close off spirits from entering or hiding in mirrors? Now, do you mean that, Tiffany, like within your shield or just in general or both?
I could answer that question. Spirits like mirrors because they are inside of them and you are out. And they can see you, but you can't get to them. If you don't want something coming through your mirror or watching you through your mirror, sulfur. They do not like the smell of sulfur. The best trick that I ever learned was you take a match because they are lit with sulfur. You take that match, you light that match, and as it's burning, you put it to the mirror screen, and then I tape it on the back of the mirror so that it's always there.
Lachelle said, I love your guys' chat. I always listen. I have my phone in my bra so I can listen while I work.
Oh my God, you're so cute. Just makes me think we're by the boobies.
Well, hello, boobies.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know
think
this was the After Dark show.
Well, it is after dark, isn't it?
Ooh, yeah. Hope the kids are in bed.
I think Melanie was going to bring on, pardon me,
Alex.
bring on Alex.
You can bring on Alex.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and throw him a link.
Toss it to him, catch.
I don't know
There's,
what he wants to.
there's so many different ways you could look at. Like there are lots of different methods of cleansing too.
Oh, you're
It
fine,
depends
Michelle.
on
Sorry.
the problem. Like your black stones will absorb energy that you don't want. Same thing with the salt. There are so many different ways to cleanse, which is really important, like Melanie said before shielding.
Now, I have a question. What are your thoughts on cleansing and prepping, like re-prepping and readjusting your shields? How do you feel about that?
That's a good question.
Hold on a minute. My husband commented in the hallway. All right, my husband commented in the comments. The match method keeps spirits from entering mirrors, but it won't work on the one in the hallway because there's something trapped in it, Shane. Okay. No, what was your question, Melanie?
Cleansing and readjusting shields.
I don't readjust my shields.
I
They're
think,
continuously moving and changing, so there's no need to adjust them.
I mean, it depends. It depends. Like if you are drained from doing more than you meant to do, you might have to.
Or you took on some heavy hits, or maybe you were in, astral realm or shadow realm, and you were, battling out, or and you've had, like took some dings, and maybe
I've never
there's
had that
some,
happen.
maybe there's some people that came, that was able to get through. Maybe for people who don't have the moving shields.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a moving shield, you're gonna have, you could have some defects in them over time. I guess I continuously, and I don't even realize it. I guess I continuously adjust. I don't think I adjust them. I think I just monitor them. Anytime there's a significant change to the energy around me, I increase the
Now,
number of
do you
rings
have
that I have.
alerts on your shields to let you know if somebody's
Yes.
pinging, or
Actually,
like?
I'll show you. Hold on a minute. Let me get it down. This is one of my favorite little tricks that I made. And this is actually linked to my shield right here. Hold on a minute. Let me go to the little thingy. This is a gamahe. I don't think you guys can see the sigils and marks, like actually what they are on it. But this has got personal to me sigils on it and runes. And it is a protection gamahe. It's made out of wax. I just used a little circle cutter, put it on a cookie sheet and dumped some wax in it, and then you put a hole in it. And that is actually designed to absorb anything that is thrown at me.
Mm. Yeah, see, that's why you're super shielded. For me, I would rather feel it. So like if I feel like a panic coming on, or if I feel certain things that I know aren't mine, I know that there's something hitting that shield. And I know
I
that
can
it's
Yeah.
feel when things hit my shields. It feels kind of like somebody like flicking me on like the side of the head.
Yeah. I switch up on my alerts, but sometimes it could be like something like a body, something on my body. It could be a sound. It could be even like just seeing certain numbers. Like switching it up. But it's something that definitely gets my attention, though, depending on like what it is. I mean, if it's like like if it's somebody's energy that I'm okay with, like say for example like you or something like that, or Tammy's, then it's got a different flow to it. It doesn't like alert me like house on fire
Yeah, I
type
know what
alert.
you mean. I don't know. I'm just like, I guess I'm just super guarded because I don't ever let my guard down. So, and I don't like change. So I like things to stay the same. So I don't really change how I feel things because I don't really adjust my shields. I keep them the same. I mean, you go in and depending on what I'm doing, I might decrease the number of rings that I have or increase the number of rings that I have.
For
And
the
in
most
some
part, third,
cases,
you've got spectacular shielding. I'll tell you that right right now. I had to be a cheater pumpkin eater to get through those motherfuckers. And with me saying that, I think that was an allowance to come in more than anything.
I I do allow certain people to come in, but it takes a lot because in order for me to let people come in, I have to essentially give you part of myself. So I don't like when people get close. I'm very apprehensive because it's to me, I've always had a really hard time trusting people. And that is like the most sacred thing because it's me. And there's no, I don't want to sound like I'm like, I think like super highly of myself, but to me, there is nothing greater than each individual person. Whoever you are the greatest person for you. There is nothing in this world that should outweigh yourself. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like how I am. So I'm like, myself is the most sacred thing on this planet just because it's me. Yourself
I
is the
agree
most
with.
sacred thing
I'm
on the
right there
planet
with you.
too, because
Yeah.
it's you. So when I let somebody in like that, it's very difficult for me to do, because once I let you in, you always have that path to get through. And if you place that trust in the wrong person, especially with my shielding method, it could be catastrophic. I would have to literally change everything, and I don't like change.
You
I
can
agree with you too. With
do
the whole,
the
like you are, like yourself, for instance, it's a very special and unique thing. And for me to actively share my energy with you, or to soul bond with you, or to allow you into that sacred space is huge. And
Mhm.
and it's definitely not only sacred, but it's just almost like holy in a way. So yes, I totally get that. I'm the
Yep,
same way.
it's a sacred space. Absolutely. Now with the whole, once there's a pathway there, though, I think those would be energetic cords, which I know that we're supposed to be talking about energy signatures.
Yeah, you can cut the cords, but it's much more difficult.
Yeah, it is, and they can grow back. I know that, but we could probably talk about that when we do energy signatures. Alex is at the door.
Okay, let him in. We'll talk to Alex. Hello, new people, Ava and RJ.
Ding dong.
Hello.
Oh, and if you're in the comments and you feel like you're like in there all
You know
alone,
what
you
you
can
just
go to
reminded me of? Just reminded me of ding dong, the witch is gone, the witch is gone. I don't remember what that's from, but
Isn't it Wizard of Oz? You can go to
yes, yes,
you can go
yes,
to
that's what it is.
Mystical Link
I knew it
Vibrations, or
was
you can
from
go to Sacred
something.
Dragon or Jewels of the Moon, and get on to the broadcast there, because like some people will get on from like certain groups, and they're in the comments all by themselves, and they get a little lonely.
Oh yes, and then it comes up as, and then you come up as Facebook user. So you need to go to either the Sacred Dragon page or Soul. What's your group, Jewel? Soul what?
Soulfully integrated.
Soulfully integrated. Yeah, she just changed the name of her page today.
Or
So I'm like,
Mystical
oh my
Ink.
gosh.
Did you change the page
Yes,
or your
or
page
Mystical
too?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. And Alexander, thank you
Okay.
for ringing the doorbell. That was mighty white of you.
I had to. It was better than doing ding dong ditch.
Oh
There's
no.
another word for that, but I'm not going to go there tonight.
Ruh-roh. So Alex,
So I
do you
was,
have anything to add on shielding protection?
oh yeah, I saw you in the comments. Just he's got a lot,
What
Mr.
I
Yeah,
have.
Alex is a highly intelligent individual, especially for his age. He's really young.
He outdoes Sheldon. That's why he is the Sheldon of Sheldon within the Sheldon groups. Except for that's my spot. That's where I get Sheldon.
And then you
But yes,
guys
please,
just
Alexander, please
find
share.
out. Then you guys find out I have not had any shields the entire time. The only shields you've ever been touched by were always your guys's. That's
Alex
the
is
greatest
ballsy.
shield. That's the greatest
For
shield.
some people,
Is you make
some
them
people already
feel.
knew you didn't have a shield.
Well, for example, one of my favorite shields, and this is one of my favorite talismans because I'm the one who made it, but I use this one on my altar over my mirror to keep my scrying mirror from being tampered with by anything. But that is this talisman. Again, not necessarily a traditional food talisman, but it does use the sealing talisman and one to ward off psychic and spiritual attacks, with a seal of empowerment stamped in my blood. Again, this is one form. Again, you can either use this, burn this, and then put it in water, mist it, spray it, what have you. Or you can keep it like this, paste it on things, or you can fold it up, carry it as a talisman. Another good way for shielding and protecting. Another fun thing, and I learned this one when I was practicing some spells, but There's also the use of star anise, which this is actually one of my favorite bottles. And yes, this bottle is pink, but again, keeps it positive. The one thing that nobody really notices about star anise is, even though this one is made for invisibility, it still protects you like a shield. Because if nothing in heaven, earth, or in the underworld can figure out where you are, and if you can truly become invisible to the spiritual world, it's said that even disasters will not be able to find you, so you would come to no harm. This is another form of shielding that not everybody realizes, the art of invisibility. Then,
Which is really an illusion.
just
You ever try
technically,
using?
but not
You ever
only.
try using? What was that, Alex?
Technically, you could consider it an illusion, but it's not an
Yep.
illusion. Just like the fox hides in plain sight, what you're really doing is hiding in front of everybody, but becoming one with nature around you.
You ever
So
try
hiding.
using the star? You ever try using the star Anna in combination with like John the Conqueror's root,
I have,
which is
but with
also
this
used
one,
for invisibility?
I don't use John the Conqueror root, because this one requires a very specific way of using it, and it's complicated. It's a Taoist type of
Okay.
ceremony with star anise, so it's done in that
You want
particular
to
way.
explain what a Taoist is for
So
people
a
in the audience that
Taoist,
may not know?
for those of you guys who do not know of what a Taoist is, they again practice the way of Tao. Tao, in a basic translation, just means the way or a way. However, it gets more and more complicated the more you try to explain it. But let's just say the Tao is all things and it is nothing. The purpose of a Taoist is to understand the natural laws, how to work with nature. Again, the purpose of it is to become harmonious in the flow of nature, in the flow and way of life, and utilizing it to its highest degree. The essence of becoming Wu-Ji, or eternal nothingness, and then coming into form as Tai-Ji. Again, keeping up with this natural flow. However, depending on certain lineages, the way it's explained, it just becomes totally different. But basically, it's just the study of Tao, the practice and the way of living, as best as it can be explained.
Thank you.
Now, where the hell was I on different explanations for other things for shielding? Oh yeah, other fun things, talismans. For example, rings, my favorite type. So just as much as we can program jewelry to bring us wealth, finance, to one of my favorites, cursing your enemies, they could also be used to guard and protect, to be a power generator, if you will, that generates its own shield whenever you allow it or activate it. So, for example, taking my dragon ring right here, if I call upon the dragon's essence, I can use it to help me visualize dragon scales on my body, which becomes another form of protection. Another essence is also programming certain necklaces. For example, my little volcano obsidian pendant, which is also, for those of us who don't know, Obsidian isn't just good for grounding, it's also good for deflecting, absorbing, and removing negativity. You could also program this for protection as well. Then you get into the more complicated stuff.
How do you recommend programming them?
The way I do it in particular, let's see here. So take this. Oh, no. That's not here we are. Okay. So take this Auralite 23. This is made of 23 different elements, 23 different stones. You can go in one by one to program each aspect. But if I wanted this to cleanse and purify, guard and protect, the main way I would personally do it is one, just wash it, cleanse it, purify it, remove any and all energies that do not serve it, and again, place it in my hands. And because I am in a specific lineage, I would use my heart spell and then blow into the crystal what it is that I desire. So let's say I do my heart spell, and I'm going to do it silently. Stomp my left foot, and then bring out my hands outwards to draw out that energy from my heart, placing it into the stone, saying another prayer for protection, calling on a specific deity or spirit to help me in this endeavor, and then channeling that energy through my body, namely my arms and hands, into the crystal, and then breathing life into it.
So you set it up more like a spell.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sharing
That same
my
thing
heart
could be
energy.
achieved through nothing but like meditation as well,
Mm-hmm.
and visualizing the internal components of the stone. I was just curious as how you did it.
Yeah. Well, because I've
Hi,
studied
Andrea.
Tao. Oh, Andrea. Because I've studied Tao, I like to practice with my heart spell and use that energy.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, when you do this, are you in a meditative state, or are you just in your state now and you just kind of do like a little ritual or spell, for lack of a better word?
When am I not in a meditative state? Quick little question. When am I never in a meditative state? To be in a meditative state is a way of being. It's a way of mind. It's a state of being.
It's a tantric practice.
Not entirely. It's one of three. It is mantra, yantra, and tantra. These three different forms have their own forms of meditation. To practice mantra is the repeats of mantras and sutras and things like that. Whereas yantra is the essence of the spirit, the essence of breath. Then you get into the tantra, the physical movements and the physical
Tantra
form.
actually combines the physical movement with the meditative movement, and it also incorporates vision and hearing, sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, physical movements. But once you start to practice both physical, mental, and the spiritual essence, namely with the essence of breath, which in Taoist or in Taoism would be the Qi, Shen, and Jing, the three essences. Let's just say it translates into the same thing, just under different names.
Yeah, that's what I suspected. I haven't studied the Taoist tradition extensively, just a little bit. That's very interesting.
Another form of protection, you guys, is fire. one of my favorites, namely the white candles. However, there's also the spiritual flames. Again, I'm not into the whole color spectrum because I really don't care much for the colored flames. The main one I love and enjoy would be the black flame, and that's just because it burns a lot of things, and it's my favorite. So when it comes to using the black flame for protection, this one's a little different because for me, first, for this particular form of shielding, is drawing on thunder or lightning from the heavens and then pulling that energy downwards, which again, because lightning goes from the earth upwards specifically, it doesn't necessarily make sense. But again, when you're working with like the old deities, lightning comes from above. So drawing in that energy from the heavens down into the earth. However, maintaining that thunder or that lightning between heaven and earth itself to form a cage around you. Again, you would have a face before you, a face behind you, face to the sides of you, a face above and below you. Again, trapping yourself inside a little box of lightning.
That
The
sounds a lot
tricky
like
part,
Yeah.
with the moving shield. Basically, if you want to use the rings, you can envision it as like a laser, which would be like fire energy
yes
or
and
lightning
no.
energy.
This
I
one,
just-
it's bound to you, so it moves along with you. It's
So that would be how
let's just
that
say,
would be how that would be how the shielding worked as well.
Yeah,
mhm,
The shielding is bound to you. It would be working with you. It would move with you. It would be part of you.
mhm.
right. Which that's
But
fire,
then
so you
you
add the other
remember,
three elements as well into your shielding.
you have I've seen people who put up shields who did do pretty good shields. I'll admit they have done good shields, but they didn't station the shield to themselves.
Well, there are people that don't station them to themselves.
I've seen people station shields and they're trying to protect themselves, right? I've actually seen people try to protect themselves to shield, but instead of latching the shield onto themselves, they either latch it onto their clothes that they're wearing or to
Yeah,
something
I've
that
seen
is
that
on.
too.
And then once they change out, the shields kind of like pop because it's no longer connected to them.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that too. In the comments, Shane said that sounded like Tai Chi. I guess when you were talking a little bit ago.
Oh, Tai Chi, yeah. Yeah, another name for it is Tai Chi, the movement. Let's get into the shamanic versions
He
of
also said it sounds like
shielding.
it can be adapted to fire energy. You could use different deities. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, black flame is considered hellfire by some. Some call it the flames of Hades. Uh, some say it's the flame of Tartarus. Um, let's just say black flame has a lot of things. Some call it the flame of Azazel. Some say it's the flame of Prometheus. Listen,
Andrea says it doesn't automatically come within, so it naturally is attached.
She said, doesn't it automatically come within, so it naturally is attached? I think for some people, yes, because they're kind of natural with doing that. It just kind of happens automatically without them being aware of it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jewel. I think there are a lot of people that it naturally attaches, but I think people that aren't maybe as good as visualizing or as good at visualizing, it kind of is off centered, off off-kiltered a little bit, not necessarily attached to them, which causes them to not be as shielded as they think they are. I have seen
The
that.
other thing you have to look at is that if you are attach it, like definitely attach it to yourself and not the ground, because some people attach it to the ground and then you can't move. When you move, like Alex was saying, it's gonna pop.
Yeah, that's why I'm up in the air about whether or not people in general should ground, because I feel a lot of people, it is not good for them to ground. It connects them to the ground. They're not able to do what they want to do. And then when they get to the shielding, they want to attach that shield to the ground as well, because they're grounded and they feel connected to the earth. So now you can't do what you need to do. So I don't teach my own personal students how to ground, because I don't feel it's necessary. I think that being centered and being balanced is more important than being grounded.
I think the only time that it's important to ground is when there is so much overload of energy that you can't really handle it and you need to be able to release it. So you ground long enough to release that energy into the earth and then you detach. But
Yeah.
like with the whole stone thing, you can grab crystals and store that energy, as you have taught me, in stones and crystals instead.
Yes, I agree. You
I
could definitely
dislike
do that.
grounding in its entirety.
Well, then I
It's
think we're all
pointless.
in agreement. None of us like, I mean, I'm not real big on grounding either. I think that it causes more harm than it does good.
There actually is a mantra thing in Buddhist text, if I recall, which again forms an earth-bound barrier, but it's only when you touch the earth with this particular move. Again, not useful per se.
Well,
But yeah.
I think if you want to be bound to the earth for a set of time, for example, if you're fighting with somebody and they're trying to remove you from the earth, it might be beneficial for you to ground to the earth at that time so they can't pick you up and remove you from the earth or throw you down the yard or whatever.
Or possibly
Yeah,
when you are practicing with like your out of body experience, or astral projecting with the whole we lost Sarah. With the tethering is what I'm looking for. The word is tethering. But again, I think that should only be done when you need it. You should not keep yourself tethered, because it keeps you in one place. It keeps you stagnant. You're not going to grow. You're stagnant.
See, when it comes to astral projection, people tend to forget that we're not untethered from the body. Let's just be honest.
When you practice, and and you need that extra blanket, that security blanket. People do that, but only do it until you're comfortable enough to realize that you don't need it.
But then you have to make sure that you don't do anything reckless, foolish. Because there's things in this universe that humans just aren't prepared to deal with. Even in the astral.
I see a comment on Mystical Inks page where Tiffany had asked, will sending out curses upon others create an opening in your shield and risk backlash?
That's a good question.
It depends.
No, in most cases, no. And the reason is because you can go through your shield. You can do whatever you need to with your shield. It's your energy. You've created it. As long as you're not bringing somebody else into your shield, into your energy space, you can take whatever you want out of it, and it's not going to cause an issue.
And she also wants to know too, the second part of her question was, is our curses meant to banish?
Well, banish is different than a curse. Curses have direct intent. It depends on how you write your curse, how you do it. Curses in themselves are, most people agree, you don't just curse somebody because they looked at you wrong at the store. They should be thought about because they can have real consequences. And sometimes those consequences can have a negative effect on your life. Now, not in the karmatic way that most people think of karma, in the way that the world balances itself. The world
What
has
goes
laws,
around comes
cause
around.
and effect. So if you cause something to happen to somebody else, that may have a direct impact on your life. For example, if you're mad at your boss at work and you cause your boss to lose his job via a curse, well, you might get another boss, and that other boss might be worse than your first boss. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to kind of weigh things out before you decide to do anything when it comes to curses. But in most cases, they won't harm your shield because you have the ability to go through your shields. And if for some reason you remove part of your shield or you take it down, you have the ability to recreate it.
Yeah.
Okay, I see a lot of comments.
I want to know about using shields to protect a friend or loved one.
You can use shields to protect a friend or loved one, but they have to kind of do some of it themselves as well. You can only protect somebody else so much. But it's the same thing. It's in a similar manner as protecting your home. What you do is you envision that person and you use the same shielding method that you would use, or similar shielding method to what you use on yourself. And when you do that, it will project that same thing onto your friend. Now, things to take into consideration. If your friend, family member, loved one isn't close to you, it takes more energy, more time, more practice to do things at a greater distance. And it's easier to shield somebody that's sitting right next to you than it is to shield somebody that's halfway around the world. That's just cause and effect. As energy travels, which is what magic, shielding, spells, anything in that realm is, it loses some of its velocity. It loses some of the energy along the way. Just like when electricity travels along an electrical line, it doesn't have the same amount of electricity as it did when it left the plant when it gets to your house. There's some that is lost. And that is true when you are shielding others, and that is true when you are doing magic on anyone. There's always some part of it that is lost. How much depends on the practitioner and what other factors are at play.
Right, like the actual person that you're shielding, you don't know what they're doing, and they very well could be taking energy from that shield without even realizing it and depleting it.
The other thing that people have to look out for is sooner or later, and this depends on what type of shields people are using, especially if they're using like the bubbles
Hold on just
method.
1 second, Alex. Tammy, can you get that other spammer? There's another
Man,
spammer on the page.
there's a lot of spammers tonight, huh?
Yes. Sorry, Alex. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's fine. Who doesn't interrupt me, to be honest?
I know, right?
But no, for example, if a lot of people love using bubble methods, white light trash.
Yeah, I am opposed to the bubble method as well. I feel that there are too many variables with it, and it is not something that is strong enough to protect against anything that would cause real damage anyway. But go ahead.
I'll use the Lord of the Rings method. It's a lone light in complete darkness.
Okay.
The person who's in there spamming right now, 1 second, that I can't get that person. I don't know what group they're from.
Well, then I don't know what to do. Guess they're just going to have to stay there.
Lynn
I don't know.
Smith, please stop trying to get people to message you.
Okay, go ahead, Alex.
But to get to where I was saying is those who use the bubble method to try to protect somebody else, just like any form of shielding, the more shields that you try to project to help somebody else from afar, the more energy you deplete of yourself. Similar to the method of one soul makes up one body, two souls make up two bodies, which takes away half our power, which then splits up even more as we go forth, the more and more we lose.
I don't really know if I agree with that, just because I feel like you can source from other things, such as
Yes,
the
and that's what I was just going to say, Jewel. You and I think so much alike.
Mhm.
You can draw power
Exactly.
from other objects, from the earth, from stones, from any infinite number of things. So if you are shielding somebody else, you might make a crystal grid or a sigil to draw energy and power to be able to power both
But
shields without
your energy will still be required to power that energy. No
not
matter if the
necessarily.
crystals are in play.
No,
Not
I don't
even if
believe
the
that.
crystals are in play. Sooner or later, energy depletes. They have to be replenished. In the same
There's infinite
essence,
amounts of
especially
energy,
in the
though.
white light method.
Energy never disappears. It only changes form. So there's always going to be energy. Energy is incapable of disappearing. There is nothing that can destroy
Humans
energy
have
at
a
all.
limit to how much energy we can project. We all have our energetic limits.
Yes, but I've never had an experience. I have never experienced an issue with mine from shielding other people.
That's because you're
I don't
using
agree
other
with you. I'll
methods.
have to disagree with you on this particular point.
I kind of understand where he's
It's
coming
because
from,
it's,
the fact that you have to
it's
use
because
mental
it's
energy
based
in
on
order
the
to
method.
facilitate.
Because the method I'm
what
talking
you're
about
doing.
that drains your energy is when you use the white light method. That's the method that drains your energy. The more you use it, and in more places, the more difficult it is to maintain it. That is what drains energy.
Now, if you're using the white
I'm
light,
talking
yes,
about
because
the white light.
yeah, you're using your essence, your light, your energy. Yeah, I see what you mean. If you're using that
Exactly.
method, yeah, I can see it.
But you don't have to use that method to shield yourself or others.
You don't, but that's why he's
Yeah, but a
saying that
lot of
the second method isn't good, because
Oh,
it's
I
effective.
gotcha.
Yeah.
because a lot of people love that method. They like, let's just say there are a lot of fluffy bunnies who like
That's
the white
nice.
light method.
It's
Yeah,
actually one of the
I'm not a
easiest
fan of
methods
the
to
light method
use.
either.
It's actually one of the easiest methods to use, and I think that's why so many people like it.
Other
yeah, I
methods
mean,
are just as easy. They're just not as widely populated because those people that have the ability to do it and have the ability to use them and the know-how and understand them, they don't really like to talk about it very much.
yeah, that's true. I agree.
So they
Yeah.
covered these secrets.
Yeah.
For example,
I did for a long
in
time. I didn't tell
in the
people what I
shamanic
did.
in the shamanic essence, some of the things that we like to use for protection talismans, if you will, include keeping like skeletons' heads on posts, on the entranceway,
I just keep
driveway,
them on my altar.
doorway. Well, shamans and medicine men keep them around the house,
So do I.
on the outskirts.
Hold on a minute. Well, we have probably close to 100 different bones and skulls around my property.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not even kidding. My
I've
daughter
known
collects them
shamans who
regularly. Hold on a minute.
keep
I'll show you
heads
something.
in poles.
I'll be right back. I'm going to show you guys something.
Another
You know,
method is the gargoyle method. For example, for those guys who don't know the gargoyle method, take my little obsidian dragon here, for example. This can be programmed and given life, given name and purpose. Similar to creating a tulpa, similar to creating a thought form, similar to creating a servitor to some extent, or giving a house or place of rest to a specific spirit. In this particular case, this one was given the purpose of maintaining balance between heaven and earth. In Taoism, heaven and earth represent Tian, which is the sky, and Di, which is the earth, that which is below. So to maintain order and balance, which is the natural law, this little fella is what keeps my shields and energy clear of all things.
I feel like that would be something that you can't really describe fully enough for some people to understand. It would be more like a mentoring thing. So do you provide mentoring for any sort of shielding? Does anybody do that?
I do it.
I do. Here, Alex, look at that.
Ooh.
Ooh. What is that?
It was a badger. Here's another one of my little pretties. Obviously, that one's not real. I mean, it's real cement, but
Too bad we can't get human remains.
you can get human remains. You can. I'll send you a website after it. I have to remember what it's called.
Because what I want, and this is just because in skinwalking, just so you guys know, we use a lot of bone powder, which is normally made from human remains. Yeah, a lot of bone beads too. One of my other fun methods is
Andrea says there is no real healing in curses. I think that depends on the situation. I think that you can find healing from curses if you are justifying something that was wrongfully done. For example, if somebody wrongs your family in a manner that caused devastation and you are correcting that wrong with a curse, it could possibly provide healing.
I think it also can provide healing in the fact that you are more than likely going to have to sacrifice something in order for that curse to go through, and learning what you're willing to sacrifice in order to achieve that justice can be a huge learning experience.
I agree.
One of my favorite curses, and I'll just say this right now, is the curse of contradiction.
Bum bum bum. So the episode, this show is supposed to be about protection, though. So I mean, what would you guys say? Protection against, shielding against curses.
Oh, that's a fun topic. However, in order for you to understand the purpose of shielding, you must understand that there is always a way to destroy shields. Not all shields are perfect. There's always a way to undo them one way or another. It doesn't matter. There's always something that's going to be able to pop a bubble. So the best way to do it is always checking, making sure your shields are up to date. However, to shield against curses and hexes and shit like that, I say, why bother? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If you rightfully deserve the curse, then accept it. Nothing better to do. If a curse is well meant and you have done that wrong and deserve the curse, then so be it. That's your fate.
Yeah.
However, if it isn't undeserved, then you're protected anyways, because by divine law, it has no purpose. Meaning, you didn't do the crime of what that intent is supposed to be towards. And two, doesn't have to affect you anyway, because
So it's
if you give
basically it basically if you're saying that if you don't do it, then there's nothing for that curse to attach to. It's not going to affect you.
exactly,
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
let's just say in what I've been taught anyways with curses is, one, curses are only for those who are deserving. However, the divine, the heavens, the Tianxin, the heavenly spirits, heavenly deities, so many different other names, check each spell. If the spell is deserving, they will allow the spell to do its work. If a curse in this particular matter was to reach the heavens before coming into effect, it will be either accepted or denied. What they mean by this is that if it is right and just, it will go through and it will reach the person. However, if it is undeserved or unjust and doesn't meet the criteria towards that person, or that person is actually innocent the entire time, then that curse is, I would say, null and void, but it won't affect them, and it will come back, and it will bounce back at you. Again, this is just from that lineage I
Yeah, and
follow.
you can look at it a little bit differently, because I look at it like energy, and I've worked with outside deities and different, aspects of energy, but for me, it's more cause and effect. So there is no outside force determining whether or not it's going to come through. It's just the laws of how energy works. If there's nothing there to attach to, then it's not going to come through.
Exactly. The law of nature. This is what defines whether or not the curse will go through. This is natural law. It's complicated laws to try to explain. But if you guys want
I
to look
agree,
into
but
natural law,
where I think Jewel differed with you is where I differed with you. You said the gods or deities or whoever determine whether or not it's justified. I don't believe that. I believe there are just the laws. I don't believe that there's deities that determine whether or not it's
yeah,
justifiable.
in this particular case, my versions of the deities, or the gods in this particular case, reside in the Tian, reside in heavens. Again, they oversee the mandates of heaven. However, this is just my interpretation of the natural laws being maintained.
I can see that.
So it's like the
That's where our
personification of
paths both
natural
are.
law.
Yeah.
Remember, I practice the Taoist philosophy with
Yeah.
their lineage. So the way I explain it is based off that tradition.
Okay, Joshua has a few questions. His first question was, oh, thanks, Andrea, that it was a good point. Joshua says, how do you feel about reincarnation being impossible? Oh no, where did that comment go? Being impossible, or you never see your dead loved ones again. How do you
That has
feel about
happened.
reincarnation being impossible? I don't think that reincarnation is impossible. I think that many of us are reincarnated, but I think that there's a time between our death and the time that we are reborn that is dependent on the person, how long or how short that time period is. And I believe natural laws of the universe play a role in that as to how exactly that works in there. I don't know. I don't have all of the answers, but I do think that you can see your loved ones if you want to after you pass over. I don't know how you guys feel. I don't know
Those
if you
are
want to chime in too.
Yeah, no, they're really good topics, but I kind of want to stay on point. I think we should write those down though. Those are really good topics to maybe explore at a different time. He also said,
Okay.
did you know that no humans existed before people started dying? Another interesting fact is that Jesus and Satan seem to appear and disappear together, which is interesting. Those are very, very interesting, different perspectives. So
He
maybe we
also
could go
wanted
over them.
he also wanted Alex to define divine law.
Divine law, natural law, heavenly mandates. Different names for the same essence.
I think that
Again, natural law, divine law, heavenly mandates. All hard to explain.
I think it's very easy, cause and effect. I think that those are the natural laws of the land, which are what most people consider divine laws. So, for example, if you go outside when it's cold and you're not wearing a coat, well, the effect of that going outside is you're cold. You went outside, which caused you to be cold.
Well, and then like Lachelle says, there are so many different versions and everyone for themselves, and there are so many practices. As long as you're comfortable with your laws and practices, then stick to them.
Mhm.
I agree. I agree. That's very good advice, Lachelle.
So I'm thinking we probably have about 15 minutes if you guys want to do a couple of readings, and then we're probably going to have to hop off here.
Yes, I'm fine with that. I have a couple decks I have out here. I have my Less Vampire deck and Wisdom of the Hidden Realm.
Ooh, I like the
I'll
sound of
pull
that
3
one.
cards for everybody.
Oh, it's pretty. This is what it looks like.
So these cards
Ooh.
come from the Tao, my visionary I Ching deck. So the first one is number 28, excessive pressure, which is funny because this is a mixture of lake above and wind below, which again, excessive pressure from the outside, things that just weigh heavily on you. Again, things that are no longer necessary. Then we have number 11, harmony, which is earth above and sky below. So again, release of said energy, things coming back into balance. Again, heaven and earth, listen, water, soil, flame, wood, forge metal, restore order and harmony. And then number 40, deliverance, which is the thunder above and water below. Again, this is finally, again, shaking things up, getting things moving. So even though everybody's feeling a lot of pressure, no, go figure, everything is about to be fine. Things will be shaken up, but harmony is on its way. All we have to do now is sit and wait, bide our time, and allow divine nature to run its course. Because again, the more we try to force change, the more we try to enact our will over specific things without thinking clearly, which, mind you, a lot of people tend to do anyways, the more things we tend to fuck up. So again, instead of being so forceful, causing more damage, just sit, do nothing, but keep doing what you need to do to sustain yourself. Again, this would be technically practicing the way of Wu Wei, or simply doing nothing while doing something, and just being in your natural state, the natural way of being. Again, very complicated philosophy I'm not going to try to get into, but finding that harmony, that balance, and just simply being.
I don't think anyone can correctly define divine law while still in human form is also a very interesting perspective.
I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, we as
12
humans do not know
universal laws.
anything, do not know everything, but I think divine law is a human word, therefore it can be defined by many
12
believe we have the definition
universal
of divine law.
laws.
Yes, I agree.
The
Well,
Native
yeah.
Americans have taught the 12 universal laws.
So have the Hermetic people.
Who, you
7
know,
Hermetic
anybody who has
principles.
had a near-death experience has probably come pretty darn close to that divinity, pretty darn close to, you know, being outside of human form. Now, I don't think it's the same thing as when you're astrally traveling or, you know, you leave your body when you're alive. But when you have those near-death experiences, I definitely do think that it is possible to define it, or in the very least, understand it. You might not be able to express it, but you can definitely feel it and you can still use it.
Joshua also writes, to me, divine law writes the lines on your hands. Cause and effects would be man's laws. Divine laws would work through the impossible. Well, see, that's where I differ. I don't think there's anything that's impossible. I just think there's things that we haven't accomplished yet.
Hmm.
The divine law of cause and effect is actually a universal law,
Well,
if you
he
really
said
think about it.
that's not the divine law of human of he wasn't stating that was the divine law. He was stating that cause and effect is man's law. I don't think cause and effect is man's law. I think it's universal law because it doesn't just happen on this planet. It doesn't just happen in our solar system. Whenever something happens, a reaction happens. It doesn't matter if it's in this solar system, another
Right.
galaxy. There is always something happens, and as a result of that something happening, something else happens.
Which is why energy generally does not just disappear, it just changes form.
That's exactly right. Energy cannot disappear.
Not sure if we lost Alex. Did
No, I'm
anybody
here.
want a
Oh.
reading?
Yes. Did anybody want an individual reading? Do 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 do.
Well, he also says if humans can define divine law, then there is no God. I mean, you can believe in God, that's fine. We're just expressing how we feel and what our beliefs are. You know, and you can go with yours.
Yeah, we're not telling anybody to believe what we say or versus what you say. Everybody has their own truth and their own belief. And if you're not comfortable with your own truth and your own belief, then you need to do some soul searching and figure out what it is you do believe. That's not directed at you or anybody individually, just in general.
Mhm.
Cavida wants to know if she will find another job anytime soon because they lost their job. And Lachelle says she is up for a reading as well.
Andrea, Melanie's not here, and none of us do astrology, so
I don't need a birth date. I just need to shuffle my cards. We don't need birth dates because our astrology lady isn't here. Let me see if I can shuffle these cards. Let's see. You want to pull a card for Cavida, Jewel? I will as well.
sure.
Let's see.
Did you want to do cards?
What was that?
Is Alex doing cards too?
I don't know if he wants to.
Hmm.
Let's see. We'll do Cavida first, and then Lachelle, and then Andrea. And Tiffany wants a reading too. Okay.
I'll do Tiffy.
Okay. Well, we usually just all pull a card for the same person. That way they get 3 cards, one from each of us, and then we'll move on to the next one. I don't know if you want to do that with us as well.
I can do that.
This is the card that I pulled for you, Kavita, and it is faith. So I think you will find a job. I think it's going to be a little bit longer than you want, and there might be a little bit of struggle, but you need to trust and have confidence in yourself, even if you don't get what you desire right away. It's going to come. It just might be a little longer than you expected.
I pulled release, will, and the masculine. I kind of need 3 to bring it all together. But there's something that needs to be released, maybe a particular expectation. It might be that you want to either get this job back or you want to get a similar job. I'm not sure what this expectation is, but this expectation needs to be released. Will would be your solar plexus, finding the motivation. Kind of feel like losing this job might have dropped you down a little bit, and you have to find that will, that motivation again, to put some action into actually find what it is that you're looking for. Alex?
So I pulled 2 cards. So first we have Tiger and Dragon. Again, the reason why I don't like explaining the cards individually for this particular deck is because this is the Chinese zodiac cards for the Dragon Oracle. But when it comes to both the Tiger and the Dragon, each one have their own individual strengths and weaknesses. Again, the Tiger is all about veracity, vigor, and strength. Again, they can be very aggressive. However, just as much as they are aggressive, they can also be benevolent, kind, compassionate, and caring, just like any creature upon the earth. However, in accordance to your essence, the Tiger is that reminder of your steadfastness, again, standing in your power, in your strength. Whereas the Dragon, the Tianlang or the Long, would represent loyalty, subtlety, elegance, grace, and speaks of luck and fortune. So when bringing these 2 essences together, not only are you supposed to stand in your power with strength and veracity and power, you're supposed to remind yourself of this benevolence, this luck, this elegance, and the way that you pose yourself. So again, this is also that reminder of see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Again, I love to tell this story because, again, for everybody who's watching, listen closely, because it is a good story to listen to. But when it comes to see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, what are these 3 things? How do they play a part in every aspect of our life? Well, to begin, when we hear evil, we begin to think it. The more we think it, the more we see it. The more we see it, the more we start to speak it. This is the endless cycle, and the more we speak it, the more we hear it, which again begins this cycle, this loop. Again, by seeing evil, it becomes all we become. Again, the more we speak evil into existence, the more we hear it, the more we see it, the more we think it, and then the more we speak it. Again, if you're getting the point of this, the more evil that we start to see, the more the cycles turn. Doesn't matter which 3 you begin with, they always repeat the cycle. So again, fix the evil that you're either witnessing, hearing, or speaking. Again, removing these 3 essences of negativity is what is needed. This is why the need of detachment is necessary, especially when it comes to financial situations. The more you believe or the more you think you're not going to be able to find a job, you begin to miss opportunities. So, again, be like the tiger and the dragon. Stand in your power, utilize benevolence and kindness, and be open and willing to accept the opportunities as they come before you. If that makes sense to you.
So, all right. Yeah, hopefully it did. Hopefully that helped. Were we gonna do Lachelle next?
Yes, Lachelle.
Okay. All right. I pulled a couple cards for Lachelle. I got boundaries, discernment, and surrender. To me, I feel like you've been working on setting those boundaries. But there might be something that you're dealing with right now that you are kind of on the fence on. You're kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to set that boundary or not. But the surrender is really you do know. If you sit with it and you go within, you absolutely do know, and just surrender to that. Don't worry about anything that's gonna happen around you to cause any sort of issues. Just surrender to whatever it is that you have in discernment, because that boundary is needed. That boundary is needed for you to live your truth, for you to move forward and be successful in your truth.
This is a card that I pulled for Lachelle, which is the Arrow Master, which basically suggests that she knows what she needs to do. She knows the mark she needs to hit. She just needs to develop the discernment and the detachment to actually follow through with it, to actually stop doing what it is that's holding her back. Let go of those in her life that are not there to cause help. So if you have those people in your life that are bringing you down rather than lifting you up, don't be afraid to stop letting them do that. Don't be afraid to take control of your life and do things for you, even if people maybe aren't happy with it along the way. Alex, did you want to pull a card for her?
I actually pulled 3.
Okay.
Which is funny because, again, 12 zodiacs, only 12 cards. But the funny thing about this is that she got the goat, which I find funny just because the goat, in its arrogance, in its innocence, in its playfulness, and in its steadfastness, is all about stability and grounding, but also being carefree, nonchalant, and just simply being in its essence. Again, let's just say I used to take care of goats when I was in high school. There's one asshole out of all of them who just really loved to ram. So again, this is also about standing your ground, standing in your power. Again, taking everything head on. However, you also have here the Long, the dragon, which again represents wisdom, power, strength, vigor. Again, sooner or later, a serpent, a snake, has to grow into the dragon and has to be in its power. So again, it's time for you to rise, to emerge, and transform. Which, again, the way that you do this is by letting go of your fears, which is seen here in the rabbit. Again, the rabbit in Native American medicine is the fear caller. The fear caller is what holds us back because, again, we call our fears to us. So, again, this is that reminder that you need to let go of your fears. Again, accept them for what they are and let them go. They're no longer needed. So, again, that is what comes up for you.
Okay, the next one is Andrea.
Go ahead. You can start first if you would.
Sure. This is a card I pulled for you. It is the Creator. This card indicates that you have a lot of things going on in your life, and you just need like that one push that's gonna knock everything into place. It seems like it should be very, very easy, but not so much, because there seems to be a bit of conflict in your life where it revolves around whatever it is you're trying to do. I think it's on a financial or business type level, but it's like you almost have everything all lined up straight, and it's like one thing is off kilter, and then you fix that thing, and then you're noticing that one more thing needs to be repaired. So it's just like a vicious cycle. And once you attack it all head on and get rid of those people kind of in your life that are kind of holding you back from achieving this particular goal in your life, I mean, don't get these people out of your life, just don't let them control this aspect of your life. I hope that makes sense. Then you will find that things will go a little bit smoother. Did you have a card, Jewel?
Oh, Alex, go ahead. I'm doing something real quick, and then I'll run back and pull a card.
Okay.
All right.
So for Andrea, I have the goat again. Again, deals with stability, success, steadfast. Not going to explain it. But the underlining conditions to this necessary stability, to this period of growth, resides the monkey, which
Excuse
again,
me, Alex, one moment, please. Joshua, I would really prefer not to talk about political things, if you don't mind, please. Go ahead.
again, the monkey I find hilarious, and that's just because everybody loves to monkey around. But again, this is the foolishness and things that go on in life, things that become uncontrollable. That's what the monkey is. However, you also have the rat. When monkey and rat come into play, this is where losses begin to happen. Again, are played. Things get lost, stolen, and underlining diseases and stuff like that due to rat. Again, rat gets bad rap in the Chinese zodiac, and that's just because rat's a rat. But it also gets the most reverence because it is the first. It's the most cunning and clever. In one form, you could see this as steady the monkey mind, but beware the rat. Or rather, beware the monkey, beware the foolishness that goes on, but be clever and cunning. But no matter how you look at it, the need for patience, diligence, and focus is necessary. Again, there's always something beneath the surface. And even in this current time, whatever it is that is going on, nothing is as it seems. If that makes sense to you, Andrea.
I got sovereignty, fruition, and change. So sovereignty is, I think it's about, I really feel like you're pretty strong. Like I feel like your energy's strong, so you're confident than more than most, I guess. But there's still a need to stand in sovereignty on a higher level in order to bring about the fruition, the changes that you're looking for. Um, I kind of feel like you're going to have to do something big. It's going to have to be something big. You're kind of wavering between doing it because this change card, it also represents the thunder moon. So you know it's gonna rumble some things. It's gonna definitely shake things up, but it's also gonna remove things from your life so that you can bring in new things and really solidify that sovereignty, that standing in your power. Oh, we lost Alex.
Ooh, well, I guess we're doing the Tiffany's by ourselves. It's the last one we have to do, unless somebody else wanted one, but nobody else said anything. So we have Tiffany to do now. Since Alex isn't here, I'll go ahead and I'll pull two. The first card I pulled is Supernatural. Tiffany, this shows that you have a lot of things working against you in your life right now, and you feel that they are directly getting in the way of you not achieving your goals in the financial community, whether it be business, job related, or starting your own business. I'm not certain. But you definitely feel like everybody else is getting in your way, and it's kind of like you're blaming everybody else. And yes, there are people that are getting in your way, but you need to stand up and not let that happen. You are responsible for you. So when you let other people bring you down and tear you down, you're not being the best person that you can be, for lack of a better word. When you put your foot down and kind of stand up for yourself, you're going to find that things go a lot better. And the second card I pulled for you is the Mortal. Oops. This card deals with a family and being pressured by those around you to do things that you necessarily don't think are in your best interest. And no matter how much somebody pressures you, you have to be true to yourself and do what you feel is best. Even if people around you don't want to accept that decision, even if people around you aren't necessarily happy with the choices that you make, it's your life. And at the end of the day, you need to be happy with it. And you can go ahead, Jewel. Oh, Andrea said that we were spot on. I'm glad we were able to help you.
Yes,
Okay.
that's awesome. I actually pulled Surrender Reverse, which means you're kind of stubborn. Surrendering is one of the laws of spirit. When you don't surrender, you're resisting, and it can cause more problems for you. Which relates to the next card that I pulled, which is acceptance, and that is that there are certain things in your environment that you need to accept and you're kind of blocking. You're not able to accept, and there are other things that you need to let go. Don't hold on to it anymore. Just let go. The third card that I pulled is peace, and I think that the message with this card is that peace is a choice. At any given moment, you are able to let things go. And per the topic of what we've been talking about in this live, shield yourself. Don't let things outside of you affect you. Give yourself that space to determine what it is that you want, and to determine what it is that you're going to let go, which is also going to give you the room that you need to accept those things that you haven't been able to in order to move on successfully.
And I think that was all of the readings that we had to do as well. Okay, what is Joshua saying? Why don't readers give a probability of chance? Joshua, I don't think that's true, and that's not a very nice thing to say. I do give very accurate readings, and I do much more detail when they're private sessions, but these are free readings that we do as nice individuals when we come on here and do our lives.
And also, Joshua, just to be 100% honest with you, I do feel that that is a deflection because you are angry at me for shutting you down with a political post. I was not talking about women's rights. I was talking about guns. Don't want it in the comments. I'm sorry that you disapprove. That is my boundary. Tiffany
Peace is
says,
bigger.
peace
Go
has
ahead,
been
Rita.
peace has been big on my mind, trying to learn more about cleansing and protecting. So I don't know how long you've been with us, but we did talk a lot about that, and hopefully that helps you to be able
Yeah, if you
to.
go back and rerun the video, you will probably find some information that might be useful to you. And if you watch some of our previous live videos, we have some on like meditation, and that kind of plays up to this episode as well. So you might want to check that out as well.
Mhm.
And I think we've been on here for almost 2 hours.
We have been on here for 2
Oh my.
hours, and we lost 3 people that were with us. So thank you so much for being here with us. We try to be on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around 11 Central, midnight Eastern. Oh, we lost Sarah. So, if you want to catch us, you can catch us on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday at those times. We also do our own readings through our pages. So if you ever want to contact any one of us, we are more than happy to help you. You can message any of us, and if you want to request a particular person, it doesn't matter who you message, we'll get you to who you need to talk to. All right, thanks guys. Bye.